I'm looking forward to our next guest who joins us right now on our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline covering Major League Baseball and just an inspiring story. It's great to welcome Sarah Langs to Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station. Sarah, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Sounds like not the best, but thanks for having me nonetheless.
It's our pleasure. And your quote of baseball is the best. And it is. I try to remind our audience as we're mired in this slump, we all asked for this. We begged for this. We complained every single day when baseball wasn't here. Unfortunately, just in one of those little ruts right now offensively, but it happens to the best of them. Baseball will continue to be the best. When did you come up with this? And I know this is something you've felt your entire life.
It really is. I mean, I was asked about this a couple months ago, and I actually went back and found that when I was in college back in 2014, I wrote a story where the headline was "Baseball is the best" for the college newspaper. I was one of the editors of the sports section, and we did a series basically where everybody argued about different sports and trying to decide which one was the best. And of course, I took baseball. And that was the first time that I tweeted or wrote that baseball was the best. But I mean, it's really taken off over these last few years, not intentionally. I mean, people refer to it as a catchphrase. I never thought of myself as someone with the catchphrase, but it's true. And there are just so many moments that really define baseball in that way. And I love that people have enjoyed the catchphrase as well.
For those tier ones out there who don't know Sarah's story, you grew up as a Mets fan in New York City, passionate about baseball, have turned it into a career as a researcher and a reporter at several outlets. And then at the age of 29, you were diagnosed with ALS, which you have attacked with the same zest that you're showing to us today, which is absolutely amazing. And I think people just have seen your fight and your spirit, and it really has inspired a lot of people, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I mean, the baseball community has been amazing since I shared this back in October. And baseball is really part of what has gotten me through all of this. I mean, finding out about that diagnosis and continuing to work and having an amazing workplace with MLB.com and MLB Network that is able to be flexible and help me, doctor's appointments, what have you, and then come back and watch games. And it's just amazing. I try to watch every game. I've watched every game so far this year, I believe. And that's been my goal these last few years. And I mean, baseball is just always there for you, which is another reason that it is the best.
ALS is something that they are still looking for a cure for. And I think what Sarah's doing and showing, how you continue to go on and cover baseball. We just saw it. I don't know if you watched our San Diego State basketball team in the Final Four, the championship game, but Mark Fisher, Steve Fisher's son, who is an assistant coach and traveling and still an important part of that coaching staff, he's been battling it for, I think, over a decade now. And it's just so inspiring to see that, you can get this diagnosis and this horrible disease, but it doesn't mean that you don't still have so much to give with whatever your passion is.
And I think that's the exact word, passion, because, depending on what someone may be doing, what you're employed in, what field, you may take this as an opportunity to say, you know what, retirement's pretty great at 29. And I know plenty of people who have done that, but I'm so lucky to be working in a field that I'm passionate in. And of course, he is and was when he was diagnosed as well. And I think sports is just unique in that way, where you want to continue doing whatever you can for as long as you can.
It's such good perspective for me. It's such good perspective for our audience. Talking to Sarah Langs, MLB researcher, reporter here on Ben and Woods this morning. One thing I was reading the New York Post write-up that they did on you last year, and yeah, it's a very moving piece. And I the older I get, I think the more emotional I get. And I was reading though about the streak that you
saw that too.
the streak that you love the Mets. You waited how long between victories in person?
Oh my goodness. So yes, I grew up a Mets fan. My first Mets game, May 23rd, 1998. Mike Piazza's first game with the Mets. It was against the Brewers. Al Leiter pitched, the Mets win. And then from then, me and my baseball obsessed family, we went to a few games a year. And then as it became clear that I really love baseball, we really ramped up the number of games we went to. I did not see another win until May 13th, 2007, also against the Brewers, by the way. But yeah, quite the streak then.
Oh my God.
That is unbelievable.
And,
Truly
and
unbelievable.
it's not like you only went to
Wow.
1 or 2 games. So you feel like you went to like 20 games over that period, and they lost all of them.
Oh yeah.
That's tougher than
Yeah.
DiMaggio's 56 game hit streak. I mean, law of averages says they're going to scratch
See,
one out.
I grew up as a Tony Gwynn fan, and I went, and he got a hit every
Every
game I
game,
went,
yeah.
and I thought, this is amazing. And I go, no, wait, he just does that. He's just Tony Gwynn. That's not everyone has a Tony Gwynn streak when you show up to a game like that. So it wasn't as special for me. It wasn't as fun for you, but that's incredible.
At some point, you're just kicking yourself. Why? Why do I keep doing this? And I know, listen, there are Padre fans that feel that way this year, not playing particularly well at home. But look, some of the people you work with, we obviously got ourselves hyped up about the team and what our ownership is doing. And the fans are showing up, selling out a bunch of games. But the national media, some of the people that you work with, that's their fault too. They got us all dialed in and thinking that the Padres were going to run away with it. And it's a lot tougher to do it when you actually once you take the field, and everyone's kind of gunning for the Padres. This is a new position for them. They're usually the hunters, and now they're the hunted.
They are, and I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. I believe I picked them to win the NL West.
Sure.
I would have to go back into my Google Docs, but I think I did. But I mean, it's early. 8-11 is not that bad. We've seen teams like the Phillies obviously make it all the way to the World Series last year, even after a rough start. And as you guys were referring to with the offense, I know they're in the rut right now, but Manny Machado is a future Hall of Famer.
Yep.
He will be hitting better. Juan Soto, who I'm a huge fan of his game, everything that he does, he will be hitting better as well. And of course, Fernando Tatis Jr. coming back tomorrow is going to be a huge injection of offense to this team. And I really think that's going to help a lot. Overall, I mean, getting Musgrove back, I know on the pitching side will also be huge. This team is better than they played. And by the way, there is no shame being shut down by Spencer Strider, who is one of the best pitchers in the National League right now.
I'll let you go back in time a month and change your prediction to the Arizona Diamondbacks. you want to take me up on that offer or no?
I mean, I picked them to finish third. I picked them ahead of the Giants. I really think they're fun, up and coming. Corbin Carroll, everyone on that team. They're not going to win the division. Right. I love Torey Lovello. I love that team. But it's great to see this from them, and they will be a force in a few years.
What do you think? How bad, I guess I'll phrase it. Do you think the reception, the fans on the road will be for Fernando Tatis Jr.? I argued earlier this week. I think obviously at the beginning there's going to be the boos, but he's such a likable fellow, and the smiles. I feel like it's going to die down a lot faster than it did with maybe some other players from the steroid era, but I could be wrong. Woods disagrees.
Sarah, he's very naive. He's a very naive young man. I think it's going to be rough for him. New York, LA is going to be particularly brutal. Philly,
LA is going to be bad, but they didn't like him in LA to begin with.
That's true.
I don't know. That's a big change.
Ultimately, I think it just comes down to what Fernando is expecting. I'm sure he knows it'll be difficult, and he's the type of player to feed off of this. So no matter what it is, I don't think it will matter for him. I do think it's unique. You know, we've never seen a player in his phase of his career go through this, a guy who is or was on a Hall of Fame track at this point, at this age. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I was at a spring training game, I think, against the Giants, and it's spring training crowd. There's, 8,000 people there. There were some boos for sure, but there's plenty of Padres fans across the country who are cheering for him.
Sarah, is there any call to action? We got a great listener base. We call them our tier ones. When it comes to the fight against ALS, I know you've got a really cool Roto Gear T-shirt that's pinned to the top of your timeline. And go to her Twitter page, and you can check that out, which is it's a really cool design. But anything else that you want to say and a call to action here?
For sure. I mean, it's funny. I'm a researcher of baseball, and my passion with ALS and everything else has now been channeled into ALS research. As you mentioned, there is no cure, but there is a lot of promising research going on. So if anyone is interested in making any donations, there are organizations like Project ALS, which is the beneficiary of those shirts, another called ALSTDI, or Mass General in Boston, their ALS group. They're all doing really, really promising research. So if people are interested in that, but I also think awareness and just knowing it is not as rare as people think is really, really important. So listening to me right now hopefully helps spread that as well.
And you can find Sarah on Twitter at Slangs on Sports. And Sarah, really appreciate it. It's an amazing story. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll have you on again soon because that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you,
Sarah Langs.